2022. Among others, the Commission found that Parliament failed in its duty to effectively hold the executive accountable during the period of state capture. He remains sceptical that Parliament has made any progress in strengthening anti-corruption systems.
We have got to look at whether, with the Commission having done its work, we are able to look at Parliament and say, our Parliament will now be more effective in helping us fight corruption. I'm not sure that anything has changed.
A senior Hamas official says the Palestinian group is no longer interested in ceasefire talks with Israel and urged the international community to stop Israel's hunger war on Gaza. Bassem Naim's comments to the BBC follow new Israeli plans to expand its military operation in Gaza and occupy the territory indefinitely. The BBC's Yolandi Now has the story.
Some voices in Israel and the US have suggested that President Trump's planned visit to Arab Gulf countries next week could be a window of opportunity to restart indirect talks. The new comments by Bassem Naim, a senior Hamas official, seem meant to counter that idea. He told the BBC that there was no point in engaging with new proposals while all aid was blocked to Gaza. Israel closed crossings to the Strip more than 2 months ago, with aid agencies warning that with no change in policy, mass starvation is imminent.
For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Jolani Tulongwebe.
SABC News. The African Perspective. And Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there.
It's literally the future.
menstrual cups.
Yeah, for me, it's a matter of hygiene. I've always wondered how
one maintains.
yeah,
Also,
how
that was a
one
big
maintains it.
element as well.
Yeah.
But the boiling of it, I'm sure you got talked through.
Well, we didn't really get into the details of it.
Right.
From what I've read about it,
Yeah.
it's done properly.
Yeah.
Heated, all that stuff. But yeah, I think it's something that a lot of people need to still familiarize themselves with.
Conscientize themselves around, yeah.
Because it seems very,
Yeah,
a bit invasive at times.
All of those things. That's why I haven't got around to it. It's been years of me holding on to this sample that I was once given. But really, if we want to be sustainable, if we want to be cost effective, given the pink tax for women, especially those in rural areas, if we want to stop young girls from not going to school because they're on their period, menstrual cups are literally the future.
Well, today we talk about, we get into conversation about burnt victims on the African continent and reconstructive surgery. We see it more in developed countries than we do in developing countries. Does this mean that the doctors in Africa are not capable, skilled enough to conduct these surgeries? We find out why the numbers are so low.
And why are we seeing such high numbers of young children subject to burn incidents, right? Because we are leading here on the continent in terms of that. And then my favorite, I'm very biased. I'll be the first to admit when segments are my favorite. And the storytelling one is, just absolutely close to my heart. We're going to be speaking about the series Unseen. I mean, I watched the trailers of it. Definitely out of my comfort zone in terms of what I would naturally gravitate towards where series are concerned.
Yeah.
But is it thrilling? Is it enthralling? Does it pull you in? Absolutely. And then a daughter reflects on her mother's life, the latter days of her life.
I don't know if that's
sitting
a sad
in
one.
there. I think it is
A reflective
both.
one.
I think it's both.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to share those memories, and that you still that you're able to put that into words, and just write a whole book about it.
Because I mean, think about the generations that also have privy will be privy rather to their forefathers.
Celebrating her life, which is beautiful. Anyway, it's 11 minutes past 1 p.m. Central African time. That's all coming up on The Upside this afternoon. Engage with us. Let us know where you are listening to us from on the African continent or anywhere around the world. Our WhatsApp line is +27 63 406 9126. And you can stream us on DSTV channel 802. Some music coming your way before we get into our first conversation. Happy Tuesday.
zochitika ndi madaphiri kamlondola wa zochitika pena paliponse.
aphungu a nyumba ya malamulo mu dziko la Malawi akuchita zokambirana zawo pa zinthu zosiyanasiyana pambuyo pa nyumbayi kutsegulidwa masiku apitawo, ndipo kondani nyamasa ukali nafe pompano chiyambireni aphungu akukambirana masiku apitawo ndi zovuta ziti zomwe zachitika.
Through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph, not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa.
For choosing Channel Africa for truly that African perspective. Happy Tuesday. Let's get into our first conversation. And as always, we welcome your interactions and commentary on social media and our WhatsApp line where you can send through your questions. +27 63 406 9126.
Look, it's a serious conversation that we embark on now, and it's regarding burn injuries, which seem to be overtaking the healthcare system here in South Africa in particular, most parts of the continent, as the conditions truly are similar. And look, they are causing a health crisis. They're claiming lives. They're disfiguring futures, overwhelming the healthcare system. And every month, at least some 30 patients sustain moderate to severe burn injuries in the country, with the youngest and most vulnerable hardest hit. We are joined on the line by renowned global surgeon. Renowned global surgeon, Dr. Grace Ayensu Dankwe. And Dr. Grace, please just correct me with your surname there. It is Ayensu Dankwe?
Ayensu Dankwa.
Dankwa. Very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, and good afternoon to you as well, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Dr. Grace, let's start off by just explaining the climate in which these burn injuries happen, right? It says here, the statistics say that at least 30 patients sustain moderate to severe burn injuries in the country every month. What is causing this? What is leading to such a high number of individuals sustaining burn injuries?
Thank you. I think that, first of all, there are different types of burn injuries. We have thermal burns, which has to do with flames and hot liquids. We also have electrical friction burn and chemical burns like acids and bases, and also radiofrequency burns that has to do with radiation or sunburn. So depending on the type of burn. But what most of the time when we talk about burn, we mainly talk about thermal burns. That means that we get burned at home. The reason why in places like South Africa and maybe in most African countries, the incidents are higher is because we are closer to the flame. Remember that most of us in the rural areas use open flame to cook. Some of our electricals, especially in places like West Africa, where the electricals, the wiring itself is not up to code. And so we have a lot of electrical burns. Houses are burning down. We don't have like real thermostats to check the temperatures of water. So we are closer to the injury than we are in developing countries like the US and the UK. And so that is why there's a lot of burn. Now, once you get the burn, there's also
Dr. Grace, just before you get into this second aspect of your answer, I just want us to take a quick break. When we come back, you can get into it fully. It is 20 minutes after 1 Central African time. We are in conversation with renowned global surgeon, Dr. Grace Ayensu Dankwa.
My name is Neto, NETO Chamani. Osiatiko, Nengezimo, Mkhanju, Phandle kunjani moyani. Voko Tendele. Africa at Play, Asteleli Siashaya. Africa's velvet voice is in the house. Africa at Play is a place to be, where we speak all things sport and music, from the African continent to the rest of the world. We speak to your bundles of joy in sport, 12-year-olds and below, teenagers in sport. And we speak to elite athletes, administrators, coaches, and all the behind-the-scenes stakeholders of sport and music. Africa at Play, Asteleli Siashaya. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Join Tebogo and Nompumelelo on the upside, where optimism meets opportunity.
21 minutes past 1 p.m. Central African time. Welcome to the Upside. If you've just joined us, we are in conversation about the realities we face in Africa, all right? And those are of burnt victims, particularly children. I wanted us to highlight the fact that children are very susceptible to being burned, chemical burns in the homes, heater burns. And we are in conversation with the doctor and saying, Doc, we are seeing it in Africa more than we are seeing it in other countries, and you mentioned why. But you were getting into a train of thought explaining to us the deeper reasons why we are seeing it more in our countries, in the Southern African countries, than we are elsewhere.
Yes, thank you. So after the injury has happened, the next step is how do we manage these injuries? So what is the percentage of burn? First, we have to determine the depth. How deep is it through the skin that the burn? Then we have to also measure the percentage of burn. And then depending on the percentage and the depth, we refer to different types of medical care. There's a superficial burn that mainly doesn't even maybe require the hospital care. But where we're seeing the morbidities and the mortalities, where the burns are much deeper, and also it's a much bigger surface area that is burnt. Those are the kinds of injuries that need to be referred to hospitals and to proper health care. What we are finding is that sometimes, because we don't know the depth and also the extent of injury, we don't usually refer, we call it late presentation. So they are presented to health services much later. And that is why it leads to these increased morbidities and mortalities in the developing countries.
And I wonder what it is. Is it just families that take for granted that they know how to deal with the burn injuries, that they don't then consult their medical professionals on time? Or is it just because we don't know when, a burn wound has gone beyond surface level and is now at a 3rd, 6th, 9th degree?
I think that we don't know. And for instance, in Ghana, most of us would rather do it at home, use local herbal treatments rather
toothpaste,
than
all
going
manner
to
of
the
things.
hospital. Yes, and it's sometimes it's because of access. I mean, it's too far to the next health center. And then once you even get to the health center, you might not find a burn expert there. So there's other systemic reasons why people don't go to proper health care. But I think that it is just literally the lack of knowledge of how much do we, how big is the burn and how deep is the burn. I think those are where the issues are.
Sure.
Dr. Grace, getting into then the reconstructive surgeries, and as you said earlier, we see more of the cases of burn victims in developing countries than we do in developed countries. Is it the same then when it comes to reconstructive surgery, where we are not seeing as many reconstructive surgeries in developing countries than in developed countries? Is it because we don't have the skilled doctors to do so, to help where it's needed?
I think we do have the skilled doctors, but we don't have enough. And not only do we not have enough, it's a very expensive process.
Yeah.
I mean, a person that's about 60% burn might take about 6 to 8 months to heal from start to finish. And then they might have to be reconstructed more than one time. So it is big labor work that we have to do, and also very costly. So I think those are some of the barriers that also happen where we don't get to the real healthcare. So what happens is oftentimes people in developed countries end up with scars. Sometimes they end up with contractures where it actually leads to disability. So that is what we are seeing in developing countries. And that's why I have come to South Africa this week, which is the International Burn Week, and to talk about burn care. And also I'm a brand surgeon for a big cosmetic product line called Borghese. And it's in South Africa, it's at Borghese, South Africa. And also we have all our social media handles. And our website is borghese.coza. So we do have some serums and things that you can use post-burn to prevent further disability.
Tell us a little bit about Burn Week and all the activities that you have lined up then in your time in South Africa, outside of promoting Borghese.
Basically, it's education, like so what I'm doing. So I've been on a lot of radio stations and TV stations discussing what to do after the initial burn. So basically, I'm doing a lot of public education because I think that public education will take us far.
Yeah.
That's the first step. So after you get the initial burn, the best thing to do, or the first thing you do, is to cool it down. And when I say cool it down, I don't mean use ice. I mean use lukewarm water or use room temperature water to cool that area down. Or room temperature. Let me put it at room temperature.
Wow, okay.
So if you run it under a tap, for instance, to cool it down. And once you cool it down, what happens is it prevents deeper penetration of the burn. So that's the first step. Then you need a gauze, a moist gauze to cover it. That protects the outer skin, and it also continues to prevent the deeper penetration of the burn, because the more severe burns penetrate deeper. And the deeper it is, the more likely you would need surgery versus treating it at home with topicals, local topicals.
Dr. Grace, does the burn, or rather how you treat the burn, is it dependent on the burn itself? Was it an acid? Was it fire? Because you had mentioned lukewarm or room temperature water. Would this apply to any kind of burn?
It applies to any kind of burn because once it's burned, it's the same process. It could be electrical, it could be thermal burn, like a coal, like a stove, an oven. It could be a friction burn or whatever the type of burn. It burns the same. Basically, it goes through the levels of the skin. The skin has several layers. The first layer is the epidermis, the next layer is the dermis. Then underneath the dermis, you have the fat. Then after the fat, you have the fascia, which is the covering of the muscle, and then the muscle itself. And then after the muscle, you are to bone. So it doesn't matter what the initial source of burn is, it is still burning through the skin. So after the initial source, we can figure it out. The next step is how deep is it and how big is it? If we know it's deeper through the third layer or it's a 4th-degree burn through the entire muscle, then we know that we need to refer you to surgical care.
All right.
So the treatment is the same. I mean, regardless of the source, it's still burning through the skin.
Yeah. Dr. Grace, would like to just keep you on a little while longer. If you could just stay beyond our sports and business news and we can wrap up this conversation. I think that there's a lot that we can learn, our listeners can take from this. I didn't even know that not ice. I mean, my first thing to go to after a burn is ice or cold water, right? Because you think you're cooling.
Ice actually will make it worse because the ice can also burn. Oh, wow. Remember, we have something called frostbite.
Right,
and it is ice.
Right. So it's too extreme temperatures.
It's too extreme temperatures. So never use ice. Always run it through tap water, lukewarm water, or just room temperature water. That really will reduce the deeper penetration of the injury.
All right. We are in conversation with Dr. Grace Ayensu-Dankwa, who's a renowned global surgeon. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation with her. But for now, let's head on over to our sports news.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
And in this hour, we begin with football news. Nigeria Premiership side Kano Pillars have confirmed that their superstar, Ahmed Musa, who has been in fine form this season, will headline Nigeria's squad for the Four-Nation Invitational Tournament. Musa will lead Nigeria's Super Eagles at the upcoming Unity Cup in London on his return to the national team fold after being overlooked for recent World Cup qualifiers. The competition is set to run from the 26th to the 31st of May 2025 at Brentford's Gagtag Community Stadium. Musa's recall comes after national team coach Eric Chenley left him out of Nigeria's March World Cup qualifiers against Rwanda and Zimbabwe. However, the former Leicester City winger now appears back in the manager's plans ahead of the summer tournament. The Unity Cup, last held in 2004, returns this year after a 21-year hiatus. Originally hosted at the Valley, the competition featured Nigeria, Jamaica, and the Republic of Ireland, with the Super Eagles lifting the trophy. The 2025 edition expands to 4 teams: Nigeria, Ghana, Jamaica, and Trinidad and Tobago. South Africa's under-20 head coach Raymond Mdaga sounds upbeat and confident that his team has what it takes to defeat Group A leader Sierra Leone and inch closer to qualifying for the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations quarterfinals. The two teams lock horns at the Suez Canal Stadium in Ismailia, Egypt tonight, with Sierra Leone playing in their last group game. The West Africans have already qualified for the quarterfinals and top the group with 7 points, but Mdaga trusts his boys to do the business tonight.
And if we do our business well, we could go to 9. So it's something that we don't put in our minds. The only thing that we put in our minds is to say, let's live to our strength. Let's go in the field of play and do what we can do best, knowing irrespective of who we're playing. As long as we do what we can do best, that makes us South Africa the kind of football that we play.
Meanwhile, discipline, determination, and hard work have been the characteristics of Sierra Leone's captain and star player Momo Kamara at the Under-20 AFCON tournament in Egypt. Kamara will lead his team tonight in their 4th and final Group A match against the Amajita at the Suez Canal Stadium in Ismailia. The Sierra Leone captain and star player Kamara sees Amajita as a very special team that they won't underestimate.
Yeah, they are very strong, and we watch their videos as well, where when they play against Egypt and Tanzania, they are a very good team. So we are also organized and prepared for tomorrow match. So we are going to see what's going to happen tomorrow as well. It's very important for us, and we want to be the group leaders because we came here for this, and that's why we always give our best so that we can be at the top. And
now, rugby news, the junior Springbok coach Kevin Foote has made several changes to his starting lineup for their second Rugby Championship Under-20 match against Australia at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium in Gqeberha today. The South African Under-20s managed to beat Argentina in the opening round on Thursday, while Australia forced a late draw against New Zealand, scoring the equalizing try after the hooter had sounded. Foote has handed starts to JC Mars, Wandile Mlaba, Batu Hlegani, and Herman Labi, all of whom played for the Junior Boks last year. Foote says he's happy with the balance of the squad. And we end with golf news. Rising talent Elvis Smiley has been given a late exemption to the PGA Championship at the Quail Hollow after claiming the Australasian Tour Order of Merit in 2024-2025. The Australian 23-year-old and son of former women's tennis professional Liz Smiley follows in the footsteps of the previous two Order of Merit winners, David Micheluzzi and Kazuma Kobori, who were each given late exemptions to the major. Smiley rebounded with a strong season in his home tour, upsetting compatriot and former British Open winner Cameron Smith to claim his first Australian PGA Championship and earn status on the DP World Tour. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fikile Lungwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Hey there, this is Palisa Tau, part of the dynamic duo that gives you on the move right here on Channel Africa from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central Africa time. Well, it's with your help for the past 2 years that we have been a multi-award winning show.
Finally, yeah, we're keeping it on the move in 2025. And yes, I'm the other half of the duo, Benjamin Mushatama, and we're going to keep you going with the great conversations. Turn it up.
Okay. On the Move comes back in 2025 to give you more of the content that made us a Maldo and to deliver that bold, boundary-pushing content that you love. And of course, giving you a ride through the 3 hours of news, views, and entertainment.
Every weekday from 9 to midday Central African time, right here on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Cool.
Let's go.
Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege.
So the artist that I just played now went by the name A.B. Cresto. So A standing for Alfred, B for Benjamin. What's your take on people having two names? Is it because maybe you can't decide on a name?
I've heard people saying that they are named because of whatever that was happening around.
These are all the seasonal. I'm sure now a baby born in Cape is called Noma Tarif.
You see now. Or it was a born baby when it was, what do you call these things we used to pay for men driving?
Noma Itol.
Noma Itol, listen.
Well, Noma Confident is leaving.
Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege. Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine.
I want the Africa that makes every single African proud of the continent and have hope. And there's so much stuff that's going on that's positive. And if we can just lock into that, Nomaganjani, everyone is going to get there.
Where are we going? Where are we trying to get to?
The idea of working together, which is why I'm excited about this new voice.
And the new voice is me, Asanda Peta, broadcast journalist with about 15 years of experience on the radio space.
Welcome, Asanda. I've been waiting for you for a long time.
Were you waiting for me?
I was.
Really?
Yeah, because for 3 months I was on my own.
So be sure to tune in right here on Channel Africa Mondays to Fridays from 6 till 9 a.m. Central African time.
If you want to know about your continent, this is the best place to start your day.
Rise and Shine on Channel Africa.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Sports there.
Was it not Fikile?
It is Fikile Lengwati.
Yes.
Let's head on over to Tabiso Nhoko, who has our business news for the afternoon.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thanks, Nompumelelo, and good afternoon. Counsel for the Democratic Alliance Party in South Africa, Advocate Ishmael Jamie, has argued that the targets set out in the Employment Equity Amendment Act are vague. The DA, which is the applicant in the matter, has argued that the government's Employment Equity Act is unfair and unconstitutional. Under the Employment Equity Act, private companies will be forced to comply with employment laws when hiring South Africans or risk a penalty. Jamie says while the quotas set out by government must be achieved within a 5-year period by private companies, government does not have any set out.
It's not explained how and how incremental that has to be. It's not explained what target you have to reach in year 1, year 2, etc. That would be a separate ground. It is a separate basis for attack because it is vague, lady. But that is not an attack we've taken.
The Congress of South African Trade Unions says it supports the amendment of the Employment Equity Act. The Act aims to achieve equity in the workplace by implementing affirmative action measures to redress disadvantages experienced by designated groups. The Democratic Alliance has approached the High Court in Pretoria to challenge the Act. It argues that the legislation is discriminatory, unfair, and has a negative impact on hundreds of thousands of jobs. COSATU Parliamentary Coordinator Matthew Parks.
But the DA's concerns are completely invalid, and I think one should just also take them with a pinch of salt. The DA's court case was lodged in 2023, a year before the elections, when the act was promulgated. And the DA ran on a bit of a Swat Khafar election campaign, where they ran to coloured Indian townships and said, you will lose your job under the ANC. Because in the act itself, and the DA knows this, the lawyers know this, there's nothing of such.
Kenya's National Bureau of Statistics says that the country's economy grew 5.1% year-on-year in the fourth quarter of 2024 compared to 6.1% in the same quarter of the previous year. The economy grew 4.7% in 2024 as a whole compared to growth of 5.7% in 2023. Meanwhile, the country's private sector growth accelerated to a 27-month high in April, driven by robust sales volumes and solid business activity. South Africa's private sector showed signs of stabilization in April, emerging from a 4-month downturn as sales picked up slightly and supply chains strengthened. The S&P Global South Africa Purchasing Managers Index rose 50.0 in April, up from 48.3 in March. A PMI reading above 50 indicates growth, while below 50 points to contraction. Global stocks drifted lower and the dollar dipped against major peers as concerns about tariffs and their impact on the economy lingered, while focus was turning to the Federal Reserve's policy announcement on Wednesday. Investor attention has been possibly off easing trade tensions between the US and China. US President Donald Trump says that Washington is meeting with many countries, including China, that his main priority with China is to secure a deal. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 604. Botswana 13 pula 48. Kenya 128 shilling 485, and Zambia 27 kwacha 66. The BRICS countries in Brazil, the dollar will cost you 5 reals 67. Russia 81 rubles 14. India 84 rupees 25, China 71.20, and in South Africa the dollar will cost you 18 rand 31. 75 pence a British pound, 88 euro. Gold is trading at $3,379 and platinum at $976 dollars per ounce. Brent crude oil is at $61.39 a barrel. For any business stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business in Johannesburg, I'm Thabiso Lohugu.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. We take no sides, none whatsoever. We are the upside.
It is 43 minutes past 1 p.m. Central African time. Thank you so much for choosing the upside on Channel Africa for truly that African perspective. How's your Tuesday going so far? If you haven't had a chance to check out Nompumelo's outfit, Nompumelo's outfit that could pay off an entire mortgage for a whole 10 years. Check it out on our social media platform at Channel Africa 1 on X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and at Channel Africa on Facebook. Use the hashtag #TheUpside. Listen, burn injuries. We continue our conversation. Burn injuries are a silent killer, not just in South Africa, but on the African continent, right? Scarring not just the skin, but futures as well, with at least 30 serious cases reported every month, and children under 4 are at most risk. Joining us still on the line is Dr. Grace Ayensu Dankwa, an internationally renowned surgeon and humanitarian whose work in burn and reconstructive surgery has restored both life and dignity across the continent. Dr. Grace, thank you for staying on the line. Let's talk prevention. What can communities and caregivers, care workers do to prevent such incidents from happening in the first place?
Yes, thank you so much. In the first place, I think that we have to attend to children. Children must be watched at all times, especially in the home, because most of these injuries happen at home. So it's there's a pot on the fire, on the stove, and then the child doesn't know difference between, a pot on the stove versus a pot on the floor that is not warm or hot. And then it's just usually accidents at home. So one, we need to child-proof the homes, meaning when you have little children, you need to take fire and things away from the kids and also protect the home from the kids from the home environment. Especially, there's something that we often not talk about, which is the chemical burns. The household cleaners and things, we usually keep them under the sink and in like low-lying areas around the house. Children can drink those things and it can cause really bad caustic injuries. So just protect the home from kids, and also education. Just educate the kids as to, this stuff, don't touch it, don't drink it. It's just a lot of public education, especially with the kids, and also parents and caregivers protecting the homes.
Doctor, are there any notable advancements in surgical care? I mean, that is your forte, that, in the last decade that have made a significant difference in how it is that patients are cared for once they reach the medical facilities?
Yes, basically there's a lot of advancement in terms of what we apply, the different types of antibiotics, the different types of ointments. There's also even, when they come to the burn centers, we even have like artificial covering, like skin coverings. People have used tilapia skin. People have used other type of fish skin. We have used cadaveric skin, meaning skin from other people. So we use all kinds of skin substitutes. Sure. Those are not to last forever, but they're temporary coverage that we can use to cover the skin so that your own skin can grow. So what happens is, the skin is the largest organ in the body. The skin has very important physiological functions. It is the skin that keeps the core temperature so that the body can function, so that your liver, your heart, your kidneys, and everything can function. Without the skin, you cannot maintain that core temperature. So the skin is very, very important, as we often overlook it. And it's also the first thing that everybody sees. So saying that we really need to protect our skins. And so there's a lot of new things on the market in terms of surgery. But the first order of surgery, when it's a deeper burn, is that we need to excise it. So we have to remove all the dead skin, because if we don't remove it, it becomes a nidus for infection, meaning that bacteria can come in and sometimes even fungal infections, because remember, it is dead protein sitting on top of the skin. So we have to debride all that old, charred, burned skin, remove all that, and then find temporary coverages. So there's different kinds of ointments that are on the market now. We have enzymatics that actually have some enzymes that even like sort of debride, that's a debridement, debrides the skin as you're covering it with that ointment. So there's a whole array of new and improved things, even how we excise it. There's different kinds of instruments that have come along that's to excise it. So we're not making deeper cuts, but we make it small cuts over time, just so that we can allow the natural skin to grow back. And if we don't have any natural skin, we have to remove skin from another place to cover it, and that's called skin grafting.
Dr. Grace, there must be a story that moved you personally. One that reflected and showed the trauma as well as the triumph of a burn recovery. Would you like to share one with us?
That's very interesting. It's a very interesting question, and I'm surprised you brought that up. So anyway, when I was about 7, I was like behind the wall of the kitchen. My aunt, she had just boiled like potatoes and was throwing away the hot boiled water from the potatoes. And I was by the sink behind the window. And so the whole thing poured on my skin. And so I got like maybe deep 3rd to 4th degree burns. And I was hospitalized for over maybe a couple months, maybe 6 months or so, maybe more. And because I got really good care, I don't have any scars from that injury. And so for me, it just that's one of the reasons why I went into burn in the first place. First of all, I wanted to be a surgeon. And then I thought as a surgeon, I should do burn, even though I also did general surgery. But I really enjoy taking care of burn patients, because it is the initial trauma versus the actual long course of healing, especially for the deeper burns. So yes, you can still have a burn and still not end up with a scar or any sort of disability. And my goal is to make sure that burn patients do not end up with disability, and also less scarification, or more importantly, no scarification at all.
I mean, we speak about the physical scarring, Dr. Grace, like you just mentioned, but, not enough about the emotional, psychological scarring as well. Did you, in your 6-month period of recovery, receive any psychosocial support? And how important is it generally for burn wounds?
I was a child, so technically no psychosocial support, but I had good parents who really walked me through, sat with me, stayed in the hospital with me the entire 6 months. If my grandmother wasn't there, my mother was there. If my mom was not there, my dad was there, or my older siblings. So they supported me throughout the whole thing. So I don't think I have any psychological issues with that, as well as no physical issues. So those are one of the reasons why I went into burns, so that people who have burns, especially children, will not have any psychological issues, nor will they be disabled for the rest of their life due to some accident that happened unbeknownst to them, or where they had no control over the accident.
Dr. Grace, you mentioned that we don't have enough doctors, not enough of them to carry out reconstructive surgery. When it comes to burn or specialized burn units, do we have enough of those across the African continent, so that when there is an incident that happens, particularly in rural areas, there is the infrastructure and the support to attend to it?
That's a very good question. No, we don't. And the answer is we don't have enough. Across the continent, there's not a lot of burn centers, because again, it is very expensive and also labor intensive. So most countries, when you look at their health dollars, do not invest a lot into burn care. And so as we had discussed earlier, a lot of people end up with burns and end up disabled, especially with children.
Yeah.
Because of the lack of these facilities. And even where we have those facilities, it may be in a whole country, there's only just one burn center. So it is even access to it is prohibitive. So it's also one of the reasons why I'm trained in the US, live in the US, but I often come back to Africa to do education and also to push governments or countries to really invest in burn care. When you look at the statistics that you had mentioned earlier, it's going up and the incidence and the prevalence is rising. And it's leading to a lot of morbidity and mortality. These are people who could have been, earning the country income, but now because of one injury, they've been taken out and they're disabled now. And, the cost of disability is also very expensive.
I mean, not just the cost of disability, but the mortality, right? And I wonder if you have the statistics of those who do lose their lives, avoidably so, due to burn injuries. And what, in terms of policy, is being done there?
It is country specific.
Okay.
In terms of policy, I think that the health ministries and the public health departments or sectors should be really pushing for more investment into burn and burn care.
All right. Doctor, if you could just give us the details of where you will be promoting this topical cream that you spoke of, that you will be educating people around after burn injuries while you're still in the country, as well as where people can find you on social media.
Yes, and on social media, we are really on Borghese.coza, www.borghese.coza, and on the rest of that's our website, sorry. On the rest of the social media, we are on Borghese South Africa, and Borghese is Borghese. It's an Italian name, so most people will say Borghese. It's an Italian family. It's an Italian royal family, and they started the skincare product line. So these are like botanicals, and it has a lot of mud mask, which has these mineral-rich mud mask from Tuscany in Italy. So it's a product line based in Italy, Italian skincare product line, and it's a family called the family Borghese. It's a big family in Italy. It's a big royal family. So they started it, and it's one of our hero products, which is the Fango Active Mud, is actually celebrating 65 years. So it's been around for a while, and has proven to be very effective in its use to help skin grow and also to prevent it has anti-aging properties.
Right.
Does that mean that we don't have to? Can we just get it as a normal person, just for anti-aging? If we don't have any burn scars, can we?
That is correct. You don't need a burn scar because skin care is important. You need to protect the skin.
Yeah.
So even if you have good skin, the burn might not penetrate a lot deeper.
Yeah.
So it always starts with the canvas, as I call it, and the skin is the canvas. You need to take good care of your skin. And I say good skin is good skin regardless of the coloration. So skin really has nothing to do with coloration. We all have the same level of layers, except for the melanocytes, which is what makes people darker or lighter.
Yeah.
But it is the same layers. The function is the same. So we just have to cleanse. I usually talk about 3 routine. You have a good cleanser, then you exfoliate once or twice a week, and then you also use a mask once or twice a week. And especially those of us who live in Africa, we need to use a sunscreen. You don't need anything more than SPF of 15 to 30, nothing higher than that. So sunscreen, exfoliate, mud mask, and a good cleanser. And you start early so that I call it buying insurance. The earlier you start, the better your skin will look as you get older. So skincare is the same. It doesn't have to do with coloration. There's not skincare product for when you talk about cosmetics like color, like lipsticks and things, then you can talk about different colors or different shades of skin coloring. But in skincare, good skincare, it really doesn't matter. Everybody has the same layer. So you just need a good skincare product line like Borghese. Pick a routine, stick to it, and use it and commit to it and use it over a period of time.
Amazing.
You can buy good insurance. It's like insurance. You don't know you need it until you get into an accident.
Dr. Grace, thank you so much for your time and your insights this afternoon.
Thank you so much. I think my light went off a little bit, so don't worry about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That is
nice talking to you, and thank you to your audience for listening.
Dr. Grace Ayensu Dankwa. She is a renowned global surgeon. You're going to get yourself a tub of Borghese.
Yeah, I'll have to get one after this conversation, right? But also, I realize that if I don't apply myself and be consistent, as you guys had mentioned, I'm going to struggle. And remember my biggest worry was the consistency with the face mask and then the exfoliating. Remember to exfoliate. And I kept it simple. So I'm going to have to be a bit more disciplined this time around.
Consistency is key. Truly in everything, really. Right? In everything.
In everything in life.
Yeah, I think it is. It's a game changer. I mean, if you're going to embark on any health regime, consistency.
Absolutely.
If you are going to make sure that the upside is the best show on radio, gotta show up consistently, as we are doing. Another person who shows up consistently to give us the top of the hour news is none other than Joalane Tulo Mwepe. Here she is with the 2 o'clock news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Nompumelelo. Top stories this hour. Explosions have been heard in the Sudanese port city of Port Sudan, and a highly experienced American mountaineer has died in eastern Nepal. Good afternoon. Explosions have been heard in the Sudanese city of Port Sudan as a paramilitary force targeted the de facto capital of the country's military-led government for the 3rd consecutive day. Thick black smoke could be seen at dawn on the skyline of the previously safe city, where thousands of people fleeing the 2-year civil war have sought refuge. Flights have been cancelled after drones hit the international airport and a hotel near the current presidential palace. The military has blamed the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, for the drone attacks which started on Sunday. The RSF is yet to comment on the attacks. In a statement, the African Union warned that the attack on Port Sudan represented a dangerous escalation in the Sudanese civil war and a direct threat to the lives of civilians, humanitarian access and regional stability. A bodyguard for one of Uganda's opposition leaders, Bobi Wine, has been charged with aggravated robbery days after the head of the military said he had detained him. Last week, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who is also President Yoweri Museveni's son, confirmed that he had been holding Eddie Mutwe 5 days after his disappearance. The lawyer representing the bodyguard, whose real name is Edward Sibufu, said his client had been tortured and beaten with electricity wires. He added that the bodyguard was in great pain. The detention comes as Uganda gears up for elections in 2023, where Museveni, who has been in power for nearly 4 decades, is expected to run against Bobi Wine. South Africa's former Chief Justice Raymond Zondo says he doubts that Parliament had put in place measures to prevent corruption from taking place as per the recommendations of the State Capture Commission. The jurist delivered the keynote address at the 15th Commonwealth Regional Conference for heads of anti-corruption agencies in Africa taking place in Cape Town. Justice Zondo chaired the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture from 2018 to 2022. Among others, the Commission found that Parliament failed failed in its duties to effectively hold the executive accountable during the period of state capture. He remains sceptical that Parliament has made any progress in strengthening anti-corruption systems.
We have got to look at whether, with the Commission having done its work, we are able to look at Parliament and say, our Parliament will now be more effective in helping us fight corruption. I'm not sure that anything has changed.
The African Media and Communicators Forum says it's hopeful that the truth will now come to light on the disappearance of journalist Seri Ndlovu and his partner Zodwa Mhluli. The forum was reacting to the arrest of 4 suspects on Sunday. The first suspect arrested is believed to have been the last person to seen with the missing couple. The other 3 were found in possession of various vehicle parts that belonged to Ndlovu. The couple was last seen in February leaving their home in South Africa's Mpumalanga province. The forum's chairperson, Elijah Mhlanga.
It's an important milestone in the investigation because we are getting closer to knowing what happened to our colleague, brother and friend, Sibosiso Seri Ndlovu, together with his partner, Zodwa Mhluli, who disappeared on the 18th of February. We believe that the suspects that have been arrested will begin to shed some light and provide the police with information regarding their whereabouts, and we are supporting the police in the investigation. We trust that sooner rather than later the truth will come out.
And finally, a highly experienced American mountaineer has died in eastern Nepal during a climb to raise funds for a children's cancer program. Expedition organizers say Alexander Panko suddenly became unresponsive while settling into his sleeping bag on Mount Makolu. The BBC's Anbarasane Terajan has the story.
The story of Alexander Panko is one of grit, determination and, until now, surviving against the odds. An accomplished climber, Panko survived a brain tumor when younger and had been battling a rare type of blood cancer. He had already raised $1 million to help fund health programs at a hospital in Chicago. Panko was at the mountain's second high camp after returning from an acclimatization trip at a higher altitude. The world's 5th highest mountain, Makalu's peak, is 8,463 meters high.
Recapping the top story, the Sawa explosions have been heard in the Sudanese city of Port Sudan as paramilitary force targeted the de facto capital of the country's military-led government for the 3rd consecutive day. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Jolani Tulongwebe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Boom, 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 boom. Welcome to the second hour of The Upside. 7 minutes past 2 p.m. Central African Time. Happy Tuesday. How's your day going so far? Are you still at work? Are you getting ready to go home? Are we about to drive you home? Let us know. +2763 406 9126. And this hour, we get into conversation with a storyteller, an author writing a love letter, if you will, to her mother. And it's both bittersweet, because what do you do when someone that you love has passed away, right?
A mother at
that. Well, she wrote a love letter, wrote a story about her life, her contributions to her life and the world around her, and the memories that she shared. We'll get into conversation with author Nompumelelo.
My namesake.
Your namesake, Nompumelelo Tabete, about this book. And then later on, we've got What Caught Your Eye. Quite a few things to share this afternoon. What caught your eye? I'm excited to share mine. I tell you what caught my eye yesterday. On my way home in the Uber.
Yeah. You Uber Black.
Yes, ma'am.
Please.
Yes, of course.
Let's not
yes.
forget that important
if it could be
piece of information.
If it could be a helicopter, the option was there. Absolutely. So I was in the Uber yesterday, and I told the driver, I was like, listen, you can play music, and he is not of South African descent. You can tell he's probably his name was Shafi Abdullah.
Sure.
Right. And I was like, you can play music or the radio or something. Did he not play Amapiano? I was like, my goodness me, how racist this man is. Why would he just think because I am a black man?
Let's say Abdullah had played his Middle Eastern.
No. Listen. I'm getting there. So he plays Amapiano. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, how racist. Am I not the same one who's nodding my head and tapping my foot the whole way?
Because had poor Abdullah played his music from back home, you would have thought, how unaccommodating is this man? I mean,
fair enough.
Can he not read the room, the car?
Yeah. He read it perfectly.
He read it perfectly because he knows his clients.
There are certain stigmas that I, in my opinion, they are justified.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, and I know it's going to sound wrong, I can't get Indian food, Indian cuisine, if it's not authentically run by an Indian family.
Yeah.
Personal.
Absolutely.
It just doesn't taste the same.
I agree.
Right? It's the same with biltong. You don't just get biltong, which is dried beef. Right? You don't just get biltong
just
anywhere. You must go to Jan's Slaghuis. That's Jan's butcher.
So Woolies one doesn't do for you?
It doesn't taste the same. They don't put the same amount of love into it. I'll say what else they add to it, but I'll say it off air. But all I'm saying is that there's an authenticity to it. There are certain stigmas that must remain. It's like also when you're trying to get cow head in South Africa and pap, you're not going to go to a Woolies, are you, to get that?
Why not? Where would you go? Guamaimai.
Absolutely.
It's 11 minutes after 2 Central African time. When we come back, we speak to Nompumelelo Tebogo Tabete, author and entrepreneur.
Vue d'Afrique avec Joël Mouteba.
Sadio, quelles sont les motivations derrière la décision du général Mamadi Doumbouya d'accorder la grâce présidentielle à Moussa Dadis Camara?
Alors, officiellement ici, c'est pour des raisons de santé et puis le décret aussi a ajouté que c'est dans un élan de réconciliation nationale et c'est un cas social. Mais au-delà de ça, les journalistes ils voient sous un angle politique le moins critique et estiment que c'est pour peut-être faciliter un petit peu la réconciliation que pourrait tenter aujourd'hui le CNSD.
Vue d'Afrique. Du lundi au vendredi de 15h à 16h, temps universel.
This is for when you have to wake your neighbors up. Weekends, 3 to 6 in the morning.
On that beautiful piano tip. This is Angelic, hanging out with Demtuda and the musical chef. Wamuhle. It basically means you are beautiful. You know what? It makes me think though, if I were a woman, I would be very appreciative, meeting guys that will tell you that you are beautiful. But I think the annoying part though, You know those ones. Baby, my size. That one should be very annoying. Yeah, no wonder I'm not a woman.
When you have to wake your neighbors up, play them The Morning Switch on the weekends with the Shy Guy, 3 to 6 in the morning, Central African Time. Your afternoons just got even better, fresh and exciting. The Upside, hooking you up with today's news from an African perspective. Is more than just a platform, it's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future.
Piece with Choma, featuring Lady Steezy as well as Mazet SA. And it is bringing us to 17 minutes after 2 Central African Time, where storytelling of a very personal kind is what we're going into.
Listen, some stories don't just live on pages, they echo through generations. The Right to Live a Full Life, a story of Nompumelelo Ngubeni, is one such tale. It's more than a biography. It's a daughter's love letter to a mother whose wisdom, resilience, and spirit shaped not just a family, but a way of being. written by Nompumelelo Tebogo Lekhuleni, entrepreneur, life coach, and pastoral this one is a new word for me, thanatologist. This book invites us into sacred hospital rooms, childhood memories, and life's quiet triumphs. Through tears, laughter, and the raw beauty of farewell, it reminds us that death doesn't end a relationship. It deepens the meaning of life. Joining us on the line is Nompumelelo. Nompumelelo, thank you so much for your time and welcome to The Upside.
Good afternoon. You got me in stitches. Number one is the way you pronounce my mom's name and surname.
Oh, please
help us out.
Please help us.
Thanatology part. Hi, how are you guys?
We're good.
We are
Clearly not
fantastic.
masters of pronunciation.
I know.
Please help us
Don't
out
stress. We'll
there.
get it right
How do you pronounce
eventually.
Mama's name?
Please.
Nompumelelo.
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 Yeah.
Okay.
Gwiliza. The surname is Gwiliza.
Ah,
Nompumelelo
Ngubeni.
Gwiliza. Yes, that's my mom.
Thank you very much for that correction. Much needed correction, Nompumelelo. Also, can you please tell us what a thanatologist is? Because, wow, I was 2 years old.
Okay, a pastoral thanatologist is someone who helps people who are dying to face their death, and helps people who have been bereaved to understand the journey that the person who has died has gone through, and then walk through the journey, the grief journey of those who are left behind. So it's the whole package of the dying process, death, grief, bereavement, the whole package. So I work with people who are going through those situations. My mom is a funeral undertaker. We grew up in the business of death. And then I studied life coaching. And in the process, I realized that life and death, you can't separate them. So this is when I then studied pastoral thanatology.
Sure.
Wow.
It sounds look, it's a perfectly woven. It seems as if that one thing just led to another, and it all makes sense how you ended up here. But we really do want to get into the story of yourself and your mother as well, and your process then of life and navigating grief and the afterlife. But it is 20 minutes after 2 Central African time. When we come back, we will get into just that.
África. Conhece o Ntivani?
Claro que sou eu.
Ntivani é o amante da música de corpo e alma.
Eu amo música africana.
Ele aprecia todos os tipos de melodias e passa os seus dias a ouvir a Channel África.
Ok.
Adivinha só, a Channel África quer ajudar o Ntivani e os amantes da música em todo o lado a descobrir ainda mais música incrível. Por isso, a Channel África está a convocar artistas africanos a submeterem as suas músicas. Músicos, lembrem-se de nos dar todas as informações relevantes no music@channelafrica.co.za. As submissões são a vossa oportunidade de ser ouvidos, mas não garantem inclusão na lista. Todas as submissões serão cuidadosamente analisadas para verificar se cumprem os requisitos da nossa estação. Canal África. Perspectiva africana.
Whatever you want to hear about today's talk, you can only get it on The Upside. Every weekday, 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time.
All right, we are in conversation with Nompumelelo Tebogo Lekhuleni, who's an entrepreneur and author. Okay, so Nompumelelo, let's start. I want us to backtrack a little because I want us to get a little bit of a bird's eye view with regards to your relationship with your mom, you know, when she was still here before her latter days. Tell us a little bit about that relationship. Are you an only child? What was your relationship like while she was living?
Let me correct that. She's still alive.
Oh, my. Okay, because this is a story
today.
of her in her hospital, your last days, her last days, and okay, all right,
Well, that's
okay,
what
take us
we
through
thought.
that.
That's what I thought, to be honest. When I started writing the book, I looked at the stage she was in, and I was like, no, I need to capture
These
everything I
are
can
the
about my
last
mom.
days.
And I thought I thought they were the last days because of the
Yeah.
stage she was in. She had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and the doctors had said there is nothing much they can do. They'll only treat what we were picking up, which was the infection. And that was it. And I said, now, if this is going to be the last days, let me capture as much as I can while she can still talk. Little did I know that
She's
she was going to survive.
a warrior.
And she's still alive today. And every day she is excited every time I walk in and tell her about what's happening with the book. I've now got a consignment of 100 books, which I just ordered.
Amazing.
And she's over the moon. So we still keep in touch.
Yeah.
You asked about my family. I am a twin. Our one and only brother, though he passed away when we were 20. And we are 6 at home, including my brother. So we are left now 5, and it's all 5 girls. And then my father passed away also, and my mom is living with us, 5 girls.
Okay.
The interesting thing is that when my twin passed away, I started taking the role of being my twin so that my dad would not be the only guy in the house. So I was more really.
So you were raised a boy, really?
I ended up, feeling like a boy also, doing things with him, always there next to him, because I could see the gap. I could see the gap he felt when my twin passed away, and he was left with 6 women in the house, and it was like, okay, hormone overload.
Nompumelelo, the title of the book, The Right to Live a Full Life. Why was it so important to capture it that way?
At the time my mom went into hospital, I was finalizing my pastoral thanatology course. And the one module that was left, it was the needs of the dying. And it's written by David Kessler. And as I was reading it, I started seeing everything that he was talking about in the book, and I was seeing it with my mom. All the things that he was saying we need to be cautious of. For example, when we go into the hospital room, instead of talking with the person who is in bed facing their death, we talk above her. And then that book actually cautioned me on that and many other things that I should be conscious of when dealing with a dying person, as the title says, the needs of the dying. And I was looking at her name, and her name is Nompumelelo. Nompumelelo means her rights. So when she grew up, her parents called her Nompumelelo, her grandparents, because she lost her parents when she was young. And they said she has the right to a loving home. So I ended up taking that, a right to education, a right to being loved, a right to this. And then the whole book came together as the right to live a full life, because all that put together completes your life. But your life is not complete until you are dead. So she still continues with her life, and she has the right to live that life to the full, as the book says, until that time then when death then completes her life. And that death completes life in the book there, it's on chapter 14.
Nompumelelo, let's talk about those conversations that you were under the impression are the last on the hospital bed, as it was made clear to you that you shouldn't speak above the person, but with the person. What came out of those conversations that were gems?
One of the things that came out is understanding her situation as she was in bed, understanding her pain, because one of the things that seem to be taken for granted is that when you've been diagnosed with a terminal illness, It's just a matter of keeping you comfortable.
Yeah.
And you find that there isn't that much focus on other things. So when I get to visit her, I would then ask her what it is that she would like. I wouldn't just feed her the food that's there. I would ask her what she likes, and she will tell me what she likes. As much as the nurses would be freaking out because she's diabetic, she shouldn't be eating a cake. I say, but that's what she wants right now. She wants a cake. So I'll give her the cake. I'm not going to stuff her with this pureed food, which she's fed off. Yes, she needed to eat the pureed food, but when she craved a chocolate, sorry to say, but I'll sneak in a chocolate. Because that then made her feel that she is heard.
Yeah.
It made her feel that she is cared for. Someone is listening to her. And also one of the conversations, which was one of the toughest conversations, was when she was discharged from the ICU straight to a rehab facility. And that gave me a huge question mark. How do you move from rehab to a facility that's supposed to be a step-down facility? Without them having yet told us what her diagnosis was, I immediately picked up that she had terminal illness. I had worked with hospice for like 10 years, so I knew that there is a terminal illness, but we are not being told what it was. And then when she was taken back from that rehab back to hospital into ICU again, the question that the doctors asked me was, how vigorous should the treatment be? And I knew that when they say how vigorous the treatment should be, it's that she's facing a very critical stage, which then they confirmed that she could have septic shock.
Sure.
And then they wanted to know from me what should be done. And I said, no, go ask her. Is she able to talk? And they say, yes, she can talk. And then I said, go and ask her. Let's go and ask her. And I went with the nurse. And she said, tell the doctors to do everything they can to treat me.
She still wanted to live. She had the fighting power.
She was determined that she's not going yet.
Yeah.
And it's in the book here, there's that part where she talks about how she actually died and was chased away from the Heaven's Gate. So she jokes about it now, but honestly speaking, she did for a few minutes just stop breathing. That was before we took her back into hospital again after being discharged the second time around, So it's been a journey. And I think what helps on my side is having done the life coaching, having done basically first the psychology, because I studied psychology when I was at master's level. I then switched over and studied life coaching. And then from life coaching, that's when I got interested in this pastoral thanatology, which my father had been speaking about like 30 odd years ago. And I said, you know what, I need to do this course. So those things then helped me to see her in a different way and to be able to help her in a different way from a daughter looking at her mom who's dying. I looked at someone who still had the will to live. And I had guidance from all the studies I had done. I had guidance from the study I was doing at that moment, that last module, which says the needs of the dying, which actually kept me going.
Sure.
Nompumelelo, where can people find the book?
The book is currently still available on request from me by sending either a WhatsApp or calling. I am currently in the process of finding the place where we can have them accessible. So anyone who wants it would call me or send me a WhatsApp on 064 5488 511. That's 064 5488 511. That's also a WhatsApp and a phone for calling. Then we arrange on how I can ship it over to them. Otherwise, with this, just, as I say, I've just received the first shipment and I'm excited about it. And I'm still trying to see now how to send it through the bookstores. It's a process.
Yeah.
It's a learning curve also for me. Honestly, I wrote this, I thought I was writing it just for me. And it's only when I finished writing it, I realized that this is not for me. It's for everyone. So the marketing and the planning and the selling had not really hit me until I held the book in my hands.
Nompumelelo, thank you so much for your time and for sharing a beautiful story of your mother. We hope it inspires so many people. We are unfortunately out of time. It is 32 minutes past 2 p.m. Central African time. The voice there of Nompumelelo Tobo Tabete. The right to live a full life. The story of Nomfanelo Gwiliza. Check it out. Let's get the latest in sports with Figile Lingwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
We bet off with cricket news. Proteas women head coach Mandla Mashimbi values the lessons of defeat while looking at the bigger picture as the team prepare for the third match in the ODI International One-Day Tri-Series against table toppers India in Colombo on Wednesday. Set to take place at the R. Premadasa International Cricket Stadium, the match will begin at 6:30 Central African Time. After suffering back-to-back defeats to India and Sri Lanka, Mashimbi offered a candid assessment of his team's performances, acknowledging areas that need improvement, but also praised the effort of his players, viewing the setback as part of crucial learning curve ahead of the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup 2025.
We didn't string it long enough for us to actually dictate where the results go, but there was a lot of positives out of how the girls have been playing. But all in all, when you look at the results, yes, I agree with you. I think it could be better, and I think as a city, I don't think we were beaten. We just didn't play the important moments really well in both games. But that's also part of learning, and I think you learn the best when you lose than when you win.
Football news: in Nigeria Premiership side Kano Pillars have confirmed that their superstar Ahmed Musa, who has been in fine form this season, will headline Nigeria's squad for the Four Nation Invitational Tournament. Musa will lead Nigeria Super Eagles at the upcoming Unity Cup in London on his return to the national team fold after being overlooked for recent World Cup qualifiers. The competition is set to run from the 26th to the 31st of May 2025 at Brentford's G-Tech Community Stadium. And discipline, determination and hard work have been the characteristics of Sierra Leone's captain and star player Momo Kamara at the Under-20 AFCON tournament in Egypt. Kamara will lead his team tonight in the fourth and the final Group A match against Amajita at the Suez Canal Stadium in Ismailia. The Sierra Leone's captain and star player Kamara sees Amajita as a very special team that they won't underestimate.
Yeah, they are very strong, and we watch their videos as well, where when they play against Egypt and Tanzania, they are a very good team. So we are well also organized and prepared for tomorrow match. So we are going to see what will happen tomorrow as well. It's very important for us, and we want to be the group leaders because we came here for this, and that's why we always give our best so that we can be at the top. And
Rugby news: Junior Springbok coach Kevin Food has made several changes to his starting lineup for the second Rugby Championship Under-20 match against Australia at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium in Gqeberha today. The South African Under-20s managed to beat Argentina in the opening round on Thursday, while Australia forced a late draw against New Zealand, scoring the equalizing try after the hooter had sounded. Food has handed starts to JC Mars, Wandile Mlaba, Batu Hlegani and Herman Labe, all of whom played for the Junior Boks last year. And rising talent Elvis Smiley has been given a late exemption to the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow after claiming the Australasian Tour Order of Merit 2024-2025. The Australian 23-year-old and son of former women's tennis professional Liz Smiley follows in the footsteps of previous two Order of Merit winners David McKeluzzi and Kazuma Kobori, who were given late exemption for the major. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, File Lungwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Es-tu préoccupé par quelque chose? Es-tu passionné par les questions qui comptent? As-tu une voix qui mérite d'être entendue? Eh bien, nous avons la plateforme parfaite pour toi. Téléphone-nous ou fais-nous un WhatsApp au +27 66 408 87 42 et nous te rappellerons. Sois dans la conversation.
Salut Channel Africa, ici Beno le diamant rouge et Bina l'export depuis le Cameroun, le pays des lions. Voilà.
Sois dans la conversation. Il ne s'agit pas seulement de parler, mais c'est ta chance d'exprimer ton point de vue, de partager tes opinions et de t'engager avec une communauté qui valorise ton avis. Suivez-nous sur les réseaux sociaux, visitez notre site www.channelafrica.co.za et préparez-vous à partager vos points de vue sur Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
We take no sides, none whatsoever. We are the upside.
Thank you, Fikile. We are heading over to business news with...
The golden voice
There
of
we
Channel
go.
Africa, Thabiso Lehoku.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thanks, Tebogo Nompumelelo, and good afternoon. Energy expert Mohamed Mahdi has urged the South African government to explore alternatives to power generation. This after Electricity and Energy Minister Hussein Ramokgopa last week announced that government will be investing $3.3 billion into nuclear power generation in an effort to address the country's energy challenges. Mahdi argues that alternatives such as wind and solar power generation, as well as battery storage, are the most efficient ways of addressing South Africa's capacity shortage.
If we had a much larger nuclear program 15 years ago, the country would have reaped enormous benefits. But today, there are cheaper alternatives to power. Solar, wind, and battery energy storage, for example, can provide the kind of power that this country needs.
Counsel for the Democratic Alliance Party in South Africa, Advocate Ishmael Jamie, has argued that the targets set out in the Employment Equity Amendment Act are vague. The DA, which is the applicant in the matter, has argued that government's Employment Equity Act is unfair and unconstitutional. Under the Employment Equity Act, private companies will be forced to comply with employment laws when hiring South Africans or risk a penalty. Jamie says while the quotas set out by government must be achieved within a 5-year period by private companies, government does not set out how.
It's not explained how and how incremental that has to be. It's not explained what target you have to reach in year 1, year 2, etc. That would be a separate ground. It is a separate basis for attack because it is vague, lady. But that is not an attack we've taken.
Global electronic waste volumes are reaching unprecedented levels annually, having grown to 62 million tons of e-waste in 2022. These latest verified numbers are an 82% increase compared to the 2010 volumes. The United Nations defines e-waste as any discarded product with a battery or plug and features toxic and hazardous substances such as mercury that can pose severe risk to human and environmental health. The spokesperson for Waste Electrical and Electronic Equipment in South Africa, Aisha Lotta, spoke on Channel Africa's Africa Rise and Shine.
So in South Africa, we have some leading recyclers, and basically what we do is we try and get as much as possible together through these kinds of collection drives, and then start off with assessing whether the electronic component can be reused. So the first hope is that we can fix the item and it can be refurbished and then it can be sold on.
Traders say the Kenyan shilling has held steady, supported by remittances and muted foreign currency demand. The shilling was trading at 129.00, 129.50 to the US currency, the same level as at the close of Monday's session. Meanwhile, Kenya's National Bureau of Statistics says that the country's economy grew 5.1% year-on-year in the fourth quarter of 2024, compared to 6.1% in the same quarter of the previous year. Tesla's new car sales in Britain and Germany plummeted to their lowest in over 2 years in April, falling 62% and 46% year-on-year respectively, even as demand for electric vehicles rose in both countries. Sales of billionaire Elon Musk's EV cars also plunged to multi-year lows in some other key European markets last month. The brand's sales in Germany dropped to 885 cars in April, a fourth month of declines this year, amounting to a cumulative year-to-date drop of over 60%. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 604, Botswana 13 pula 48, Kenya 128 shilling 485, and Zambia 27 kwacha 66. The BRICS countries, Brazil, the dollar there will cost you 5 reals 67, Russia 81 rubles 14, India 84 rupees 25, China 71 20, and in South Africa the dollar will cost you 18 rand 31. $1 is trading at 75 pence to the British pound and 88 to the euro. Gold $1,379 and platinum at $976. $1 per ounce. Brent crude oil is at $61.39 a barrel. For any business stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459 for Channel Africa Business in Johannesburg. I'm Tabisolo Hogu.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Join Tebogo and Nompumelelo on the upside, where optimism meets opportunity.
Yeah, you know it. Lelo jezo walishia gimme. Eline punga lako. Potumalo yako. Kushoti keli. Ni kama hora mabili. Kamele spuben sako. Angoba unempato. Guntlanga zimuga na moya dali. Ngeli telepota dali. Yenhlizweni yakho zofika maduze. Phakathi kwamabili u-12 akulaleki. Ngathi ngiphuza ikoflela the. Yenhlizweni yakho zofika maduze. Bayatela laba babonayo. Nsuku zonke.
Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, One voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For
PM
business.
Central African Time, beautiful voice there of Nompumelelo with Black Diamond.
Samshini. What does that mean?
Dizamshini.
What does that mean?
Dizamshini. I'm going to translate directly and say Dizamshini, aeroplane, fly. Do the fly.
Oh, fly machine.
Dizamshini.
Oh, a fly machine. I see. Okay.
I'm coming to you, so
she
go.
She translated that directly. She said a fly machine.
Dizamshini. How we normally call it.
All right. So we are wrapping up the second hour of the show. Very exciting conversation that we're going to have in the next hour, speaking about the series, South African series, Unseen. How exciting. Have you watched it?
I have watched it.
You've watched the actual series?
I've watched the actual series. I've watched the first one, the first season.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the second one yet.
Okay.
All I can say is my goodness me.
Just from the trailer, I'd echo those sentiments.
The performance, Gail Mabalana's performance on that, just award-winning.
Yeah.
And I kept wondering and asking myself, my goodness me, how do you debrief after such a production? Because the emotional toil that you must have gone through playing that role.
Yeah.
I mean, she was literally killing everyone.
She just became a mass murderer because, I don't want to give the plot away. Because of this one man. Ugh, I don't know if it's worth it.
It was, okay. Wow, really? Well, she thought it was definitely worth it, okay?
I don't think any man is ever worth that much trouble. Sorry.
She thought so. She thought so. And I think for me was the fact that she did everything so undercover. That's why unseen. And it got me thinking about the people who work at your home, you know, your helpers, those who take care of your kids. You're like, my goodness me, those people.
Can I tell you, I was told by someone at a workplace that someone who'd been there long enough knew exactly how things work there, that it is the security guards.
Oh, okay.
It's always how news gets out.
I'm glad I'm not wearing my security
always
cap.
The security guards and the cleaners.
Because they see everything. They are aware of everything.
And because they are so inconspicuous.
Yes.
They just kind of become part of the background noise, right? That when they're cleaning your desk there or they're just standing there wiping, whatever, you guys are busy chattering. Oh, Mpumi, oh, my boss. They are picking everything up because you just don't think that they even, and then they go whisper it to the powers that be. So if you want to know about people who are unseen in the workplace, please, security guards who see everything and cleaners who hear everything.
Oh, actually, I would love to hear your stories of perhaps a security guard or a helper at home who ended up getting into mischief and you caught them out. Send them through.
Or just knows too much and then use that information.
Blackmailed you.
Look, I mean, imagine especially if you have a full-time live-in helper.
Yeah.
They have access to, if you're one of those people who still prints out your pay slip.
Yeah.
They have access to that.
Yep.
They probably know where to find it.
Yep.
They have access to the most intimate information about you and your family. Yeah, that's why I've never been a fan of helpers.
Let us know any interesting, wild experiences. +2763 406 9126. And while you're sending us your voice notes or your WhatsApp, what caught your eye, Madam? What caught your eye?
What caught my eye? Okay. So 4 days ago, it was still the weekend, right? Yeah, that's why I had a lot of time on my hands. So I'm perusing social media, and I come across, in fact, it was on my For You page, that I saw a video of a young girl who speaks about how a couple of years ago, she hit rock bottom. And it was after she had broken up with a man she believed, a long-term relationship, a man who was substantially older than she was. She was 21 years old. He was 47. And very accomplished. She tells a story about how they met, how they fell in love, how they spent a lot of time together, semi-living together, blah, 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 blah. But this man was emotionally abusive. And she reflects on how on social media she lived this lavish life. No one could ever tell. Because she had access now to a lot of money, a lot of powerful people.
Yeah.
And behind closed doors, she was being abused. Now, she created this platform in order to advance her business that was born out of that experience. And it's called Bear With Me. And I think what she does is provide psychosocial support, and I believe that's what she does, right?
Okay.
But it was really just to promote her business. Guys, when I tell you that within 4 days, this girl had received some 11,000 followers because she was sharing a story of heartbreak. So several things came out of that for me. Number one, this man whose name she mentioned the name and kind of what he did. He's an entrepreneur, was an exec at a company, MBA, blah, blah. People found the Simpiwe man, number one. Number two, how much of these story times, messy story about people's lives, do we love that in 4 days, 11,000 plus of us were following her just to find out the juice, right? We're a messy bunch. Number three, it was a brilliant marketing strategy, according to me, because now she has that following she needs in order to sell her business. So the power of social media, good or bad.
We love drama.
Oh, my word.
The messier the situation, the better. It's not the same case as the story of that lady who shared the story of, I don't know who I married. Remember that one? Went viral.
That's right.
Global.
That's right.
Right? And it turned into people wanting to make a series out of it and a book deal out of it and so many things that came. We love drama.
Yeah.
And so, but you mentioned earlier before the show that she removed some of those videos.
So she removed the story time type videos and only maintained the ones where she was talking about
her business.
The business. So now that's all you're getting, 11,000 followers.
That is actually smart.
And it is very smart, but you were saying that might just stagnate her.
It could stagnate her
following,
her growth, if she's not bringing anything of substance or value to people through that business. And so, if the business is not bringing enough drama and excitement and we must follow you, it's going to stagnate that growth because what people are now expecting is a mess, drama, more revelations, and they're not going to get that. They're just going to get more business. Please buy my product. And it may stagnate the growth, but what a stellar job she did. Over 10,000 in a couple of days. That, for any content creator, is impressive.
It's massive. It's massive.
Impressive.
I mean, people struggle to get to 2,000. You know what I mean?
Tell me about it. We've been there. We've been there. So very impressive. Congratulations to her. We just hope that she'll start putting out compelling content that is of value to people, and that her numbers will grow, that her business will also grow. And we certainly hope that people are wishing her well and not just for the sake of drama, and that her business actually thrives. We wish her the best for that. This Simpiwe guy, what did he say? Because you said they found him. Did he respond to this?
No, he hasn't yet.
Does he have social media?
Maybe that's the next thing. He probably knows about this at this stage. I mean, his LinkedIn has probably been flooded with, are you the same people that...
Oh my goodness. And you know how horrible it is? See, I'm out of time for my...
for what caught your eye? Maybe in the next hour when we come back.
I'll share it in the next hour.
Yeah.
I'll share it in the next hour. Because I'm thinking now,
Would
social media...
Would you deactivate if you were Simpiwe?
Social media can really tarnish your reputation. Absolutely. And you know, nowadays, it's not really compulsory, but it's part of the recruitment process. They actually go through your socials. And so a lot of people are frowning upon that. They're like, no, you don't need to know what I do outside of the office. It has no bearing of my capabilities, my skills, my qualifications, and so on and so forth.
And people evolve. You know, people change. Thoughts that I had when I tweeted back in 2020, I may no longer hold.
Exactly that. And so I don't know if I would... Because I mean, you've built it. You've worked so hard to build that reputation. Now, in a moment, just like that, you now have to take it away. But anyway, let me, instead of doing what caught my eye, which I'll do later, you mentioned burnout and crashing out quite a few times, right? And these are people who are at work, who they're so tired, they're so fatigued, they don't know how to get out of it, right? Apparently, there is a way to avoid the burnout.
Having burnout? Oh, tell me. I think I'm on my fourth one now. Let's hear it. Let's see if this will help.
This one is the best I've seen. Let me tell you why. It says here, to avoid burnout at work, and I think anyone can apply this wherever you are, anywhere around the world, use the 30-30 rule. Okay? Now, the 30-30 rule states that after 30 minutes of work, quit your job and disappear into the mountains for 30 years.
I knew this would be ridiculous because I just knew it would be ridiculous because it's
practical.
Coming
it works.
I must quit my job.
And then go to a mountain for 30 years. Jolani Tulo Mwepe is on the other side of this to give you the latest headlines in news. And are you going to take the offer, like 30 minutes? I gave you
essentially, you're saying you no longer want to co-host the Upside with me.
I haven't reached burnout yet.
I crash out and I
haven't reached
it
yet.
Experienced burnout. But you no longer. You just want me to live at them. In fact, you want me as far away from you as, Jolani. Get me out, guys.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Top stories this hour. UN Commission on Human Rights in Sudan responds to medical facility bombings, and leader of Germany's conservative CDU party unexpectedly fails to win the parliamentary majority. Good afternoon. A bombing attack on a Doctors Without Borders hospital and pharmacy in South Sudan over the weekend was deliberate and may amount to a war crime, according to the UN Commission on Human Rights in South Sudan. At least 7 people were killed and 20 wounded in South Sudan's Fangak County when a bomb was dropped on the pharmacy, burning it to the ground and damaging the hospital. This was followed by another drone attack on Old Fangak town. No one claimed responsibility for the attacks. The chairperson of the UN Commission on Human Rights, Yasim Suka, said in a statement this was a calculated, unlawful attack on a protected medical facility. She added that the aerial bombing of the hospital in Old Fangak was a flagrant violation of international humanitarian law and could amount to a war crime. South Africa's former Chief Justice Raymond Zondo has hailed the judiciary as the arm of state that is most effective in the fight against corruption. He was delivering the keynote address on the second day of the 15th Commonwealth Regional Conference of Heads of Anti-Corruption Agencies in Africa. The four-day event is taking place in Cape Town. Zondo chaired the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture from 2018 to 2020. He says the judiciary has played a meaningful role in combating corruption.
You will know that the judiciary is the only arm of state where its members can be kicked out when they've done wrong. It's difficult to find such examples in the executive. It's difficult to find such examples in parliament. Very often, people who are facing serious allegations, both in the executive and in parliament, are just shifted around or just given a slap in the wrist.
A bodyguard for one of Uganda's opposition leaders, Bobi Wine, has been charged with aggravated robbery days after the head of the military said he had detained him. Last week, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who is also President Yoweri Museveni's son, confirmed that he had been holding Eddie Mutwe 5 days after his disappearance. The lawyer representing the bodyguard, whose real name is Edward Sibufu, said his client had been tortured and beaten with electricity wires. He added that the bodyguard was in great pain. The detention comes as Uganda gears up for elections in 2026, where Museveni, who has been in power for nearly 4 decades, is expected to run against Bobi Wine. The African Media and Communicators Forum says it's hopeful that the truth will now come to light on the disappearance of South African journalist Aseri Ndlovu and his partner Zodwa Mdluli. The forum was reacting to the arrest of 4 suspects on Sunday. The first suspect arrested is believed to have been the last person seen with the missing couple. The other 3 were found in possession of various vehicle parts believed to belong to Ndlovu's car. The couple was last seen in February leaving their home in the Mpumalanga province. The forum's chairperson Elijah Mhlanga.
It's an important milestone in the investigation because we are getting closer to knowing what happened to our colleague, brother and friend Sibosiso Aseri Ndlovu, together with his partner Zodwa Mdluli, who disappeared on the 18th of February. We believe that the suspects that have been arrested will begin to shed some light and provide the police with information regarding their whereabouts, and we are supporting the police in the investigation. We trust that sooner rather than later the truth will come out.
The leader of Germany's conservative CDU party, Friedrich Merz, has unexpectedly failed to win the parliamentary majority he needs to become chancellor. He fell 6 votes short at a meeting of the Bundestag in Berlin. The BBC's Jessica Parker reports.
We were not expecting a lot of political drama here today. The expectation was that Friedrich Merz would turn up, the vote would happen, he'd go over to the president's residence, come back and be sworn in. Now, important to say that could all still happen. We think there's going to be further rounds of voting, but this is pretty bad and embarrassing news for Friedrich Merz. He's 6 votes shy of the necessary 316 majority that he would have needed to secure that support to be Germany's next chancellor.
Recapping the top story this hour, a bombing attack on a Doctors Without Borders hospital and pharmacy in South Sudan over the weekend was deliberate and may amount to a war crime, according to the UN Commission on Human Rights in South Sudan. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Cholani Tulongwebe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
7 minutes after 3 Central African time, the third and final hour of the Upside. It's Nompumelelo Ngubeni and Tebogo Lekhuleni. And we are, before we even tell you about what's coming up in this hour, you were going to share with us what caught your eye.
Oh, yes.
Have you forgotten? What
Yes.
a short attention span. I mean, really.
Wow. Thank you very much for that. Rwanda.
Yes. The country we love, the clean African country.
The
They
land
have
of 1,000 hills.
threatened military attack on South Africa.
That one.
Yes.
That
okay,
Rwanda.
That one. Right.
Rwanda becomes the first African nation to sponsor Spanish football giants Atletico Madrid. They've made history by becoming the first African nation to sponsor Spanish football giants Atletico Madrid through its Visit Rwanda campaign. It's a multi-year partnership announced on the 30th of April 2025. It will run until June 30, 2028. And as part of the agreement, the Visit Rwanda logo will appear on the men's first team's training and warm-up kits for the remainder of the current La Liga season, including the Cup World Cup.
Now, tell me something. Why on earth would Rwanda do something like this?
Well, they're trying to get more people to come to Rwanda, and they think by showcasing their face on a platform like La Liga, football consumed in billions and billions and billions of views, more people flock to Rwanda as a tourist destination, and they are also, did I mention that they are also an official coffee supplier to Atletico Madrid.
How would a sponsorship of a team in Madrid translate to tourism or stimulate tourism?
Trying to get Europeans to visit, instead of coming to South Africa, the Southern African, maybe they're trying to get the European countries.
I'm with you.
To go to Rwanda.
But talk to me about the direct correlation. I'm struggling to see the. No, I really am.
You're not the only one.
Oh! I thought there's a sports thing that I'm missing.
You're not the only one, because. And listen, we could be wrong.
Because does it say sponsored by Rwanda?
No, it just says Visit Rwanda. That's what it says on the training kits.
It says Visit Rwanda.
Visit Rwanda on the training kits. So as they're warming up before any big game, they've got Visit Rwanda.
But who's there when they train? Are they just trying to get that little group of soccer players?
The cameras will still be there. Remember when they're doing the pre-match interviews and pre-match preparations, they will still show. You'll get footages of the trainers or the players walking around in the Visit Rwanda t-shirt, training gear. So they're hoping that that's enough coverage for them to get their word and their name out there and the country out there.
And is this the main team? This is the A team.
Absolutely.
All right, and they're a big enough team.
Big team.
All right, Ntando, you think this is a good move? Ntando is an avid soccer supporter. Is this a good move? Will it translate into
sport guru?
Ntando, I'll take Ntando's word for it. He seems to think that it will translate into the stimulation of Rwandan tourism.
La Liga is a massive league, right? And so those billions, millions and billions of people watching it.
Training.
Yes, the training is also covered, guys. But it's covered. You know what I mean? It is covered on television
extensively?
As well. Remember the pre-game. It's about half an hour to an hour of pre-game before the game starts. There are interviews that are being conducted. They are going through the stats, what's coming up. And during that time, you'll see a lot of the players in their training gear, and no doubt you will see Visit Rwanda on their training gear. So they're hoping that also translates, obviously, the number of views to maybe a portion of it to direct tourism that will impact the country.
I'm just a girl.
We're hoping for the best.
11 minutes after 3 Central African time.
Parlez-vous couramment le français? Êtes-vous passionné par la radio? Et êtes-vous qualifié pour travailler en Afrique du Sud? Envoyez-nous votre CV et votre 3 minutes démo en MP3 à @channelafrica.co.za pour avoir une chance de rejoindre la famille Channel Africa. Si vous n'avez pas de réponse après 14 jours, cela signifie que vous n'avez pas été retenu. Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
Ahoy, matey!
Captain here to help, right, boys?
Set sail with us on a digital voyage like no other. Channel Africa has a treasure trove of awesomeness. That is our website and social media pages.
Tell me, why are you here?
We want you to be part of our adventure.
The winds are changing, Captain. And this time...
Imagine a world where curiosity knows no bounds, where entertainment meets enlightenment, and where every click leads to the African perspective. Visit us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, or follow us on Instagram or on X at Channel Africa 1. Go on, like us on Facebook at Channel Africa 1. So, spread the word. Tell a friend that Channel Africa's online variety is what they need on the web. Channel Africa, the African perspective. If it's news and current affairs, leading opinions, and thought leaders that get your groove, this is your home, The Upside. For culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift.
Iris Star with the rush. There's no rush. There's no rush here on the upside. We are as cool as cucumbers as we get into conversations around Unseen, which is the South African series out on Netflix. They are on season 2 now. Look, as I said, when I watched the trailers, both of them, and the teasers, I was like, man, this is action-filled. I think it's a trailer or teaser for season 2 where it just starts with like punching in a prison cell and they're just kicking, and I was like, oh my goodness, and it's just all women. I don't know if I have the stomach for it. I think it's Yeah, I don't know if I have the stomach for it. Because you know what I tend to do when watching series?
What?
I tend to act out, like I'll go about my life feeling like one of the characters, whoever I connect to the most. And I mean, that's a little bizarre, right?
Do you think you'd connect mostly to Uzenzi or TK? You're not the protective type, so not TK.
No, I am definitely TK.
Are you?
Yeah, because I would definitely see myself in a TK.
Well, you're wearing
Like,
the orange, so it's good.
You know, don't mess with her. I've got it. I'm all for the, but yeah.
Listen, in a world that often overlooks the invisible, Unseen flips the script, and this season it turns the tension all the way up. Gail Mabalane returns as Zenzi Mwale, but this time she's not cleaning up messes, she's in one. Framed, locked up, and forgotten, Zenzi must navigate the brutal world behind bars. But in the shadows of prison life, a new force emerges. TK.
Sure.
A calculating, charismatic inmate played by the magnetic Danica Jones. With grit, grace, and layers of mystery, TK becomes both ally and enigma, a wild card in a world where loyalty can get you killed. As Season 2 unpacks betrayal, survival, and the cost of justice, we are joined by Danica Jones to dive into the mind of TK and the pulse of the show that's anything but ordinary. Danica, welcome to The Upside. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, thank you guys so much for having me. Such an honor. Thanks, Nompumelelo and Tebogo. I'm so grateful to be here.
It's amazing having you.
Yeah.
Let's start off with, are you a fan of Unseen? Did you see the first one? I mean, you're part of the second season, but did you see the first one and were you a fan?
I absolutely did see the first one, and this was in no way in preparation for the audition. I actually, when they started showing the teasers, I think it was in 2023.
Yes.
I was like, oh my goodness, we very seldom have these stories and with trailblazing leading ladies. So I was completely sucked into the hype, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And for me, it was the story about this woman, this mother, and often the voices that are really not heard and the people that are completely overlooked in society. And I think that's what I found so interesting. So yeah, I was a big fan before I even just got the audition for season 2.
Love
All right. We want to get into how that audition went and what it was like being part of the cast. We are speaking to Danica Jones, who is playing TK in the second season of Unseen. When we come back, we'll delve deeper into the story.
Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Tamo Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. And join the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Join Tebogo and Nompumelelo on The Upside, where optimism meets opportunity.
All right, 21 minutes after 3 Central African time. All right, I mean, tell us about you being part of the cast. How did the audition come about?
So my agent sent it to me, and when I read it, I wasn't actually sure. I wasn't sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. At that time, I was still doing a theater production called For Colored Girls, plus doing Scandal.
Brilliant one, by the
and
way.
I just felt like there were too many people living in my body, and I was just, I didn't know if it was the right time and also if it was the right character. And then I read her and something just kind of shifted in me, and I was like, yeah, I think I wanna do it. And I submitted my tape, not thinking that anything would come of it. It was just my contribution. You shoot your arrow, you let it fly, and that's how auditions work. And then I get a call that I'm gonna be seen for a callback and a screen test, and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Tell us, have you ever been to jail, prison?
No. I'm like, I really wanted to try and fool you, but no, not yet.
So well, thank you for that clarity. So who did you have to tap into? Did you have to study people? Was there someone that you had to read up about to get into the mindset of what it's like to be in prison, to get into that character?
No, I have lived a very interesting life. I've been able to connect with really interesting people, and I've sometimes witnessed some really, especially from where I'm from, I've seen the culture of how people carry themselves and how it feels to constantly be feeling like someone's always coming at you, and being able to kind of hold that in your body, the trauma and the attack mode. And that's just kind of what I tapped into, because what kind of reference do you have? I feel like every single person goes in and has their own experience, and I just needed to kind of find the truth beyond those layers and try and play them as honestly as possible and embody them as honestly as possible.
I mean, you speak about complexities of the emotions that you had to tap into, the attack, the trauma, the kind of flee or freeze response one would get given their circumstances. Talk to us about the complexities of TK's then motives as the season progresses, because you see this protector villain type of character coming out.
Yeah, she is. I think she's way more complex than that. And what's so interesting is I think she's the only character that really and truly sees Zenzi. Like when she says it, she means it. TK she doesn't really have motives in her world. She's just in response to her circumstance and to a situation. So she doesn't see it as a motive. She sees it as a response and a reaction and a truth, which almost could be the same, we could say the same thing for Zenzi. That she's also in that. She is in response to a situation. And they almost mirror each other, but from a different part of themselves. One is very hardened, and one is fighting for her life. But I do think somehow they are bred and conditioned from the same parts of society that oppress them. And I think that that's what makes them such complex characters, both of them, both Zenzi and TK.
Let's talk about the chemistry between you and Gail. That must have been quite the experience to work with her. Talk to us about meeting her for the first time and then obviously coming together in bringing these two characters to life.
Oh my gosh. The first time I met Gail was at the airport. We were both flying to Cape Town for the callback. Well, it was my callback, but obviously I wanted to see the chemistry between us. So we were doing like a chemistry read. And we were talking in the car and just bouncing off of each other. And then we get into the room and she wasn't given the sides. So she didn't even know about my character. She didn't get scripts. She got nothing. So she didn't know what my contribution was going to be. So I was just talking to her And then I get into the room and I just shifted. And she was like, oh, is this where we're going? And I saw in her face immediately, she was like, who is this and what do they want with Zenzi? And she had absolutely no background of who she was coming in to read with. And it was lovely because then it gave us a chance to kind of find a natural chemistry first without the pressure of trying to find the chemistry between characters because she had no idea of this character. And I think once we had that respect, I could go where I needed to go. And she is one of those actors that is so giving and is so anchored and grounded that she will hold whatever you throw at her, which is really, really great. So I was like, there. She was like, oh, okay. And I think afterwards she was like, yeah, great. And then when she saw me again, she was like, yo, I couldn't show you. I had put my game face on, but you just shifted completely. And I was like, well, so did you. You know, she's nothing like Zenzi in person. She's just bright and beautiful and very regal. She's got like this regalness about her. And Zenzi is very very crouched, and her energy goes in towards herself and collapses almost until she has those moments. And it was just so beautiful to work with her, and I'm still so honored, and I'm a fan and now a friend, and it's amazing. Yeah.
Danica, as we run out of time, tell us what you hope that viewers take out of TK's journey with Zenzi.
To look closer. And have consideration for why things are or seem the way that they seem. Go on the journey and look a little bit closer because people are not always who you think they are. And
it's really poignant. Oh,
very
but
profound.
Look, I mean, I just want to say you pulled us in. I mean, it's been a 15-minute conversation, but I am like literally, I want to hear more from Danica. And just this is just a simple conversation. You're not even acting, but already I think your ability to storytell is so brilliant, and just the emotions. It's so emotive as well. So congratulations on this season.
Oh, absolutely. And Danica,
thank you so much, and thank you for that beautiful compliment. Thank you.
It's quite visceral. So
it is very visceral. I mean, Unseen is out on Netflix season 2. Go check it out. See the brilliance of Danica Jones. Danica, where can people follow you on the socials?
I am Danica Delaray Jones on everything. That's simple.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait. We've been saying Danica, Frenching it out.
Danica.
It's Danica.
Danica.
It's Danica, but my mom went the other way. She was like, this is the KZN pronunciation.
Danica, thank you so much for your time and all the best for the rest of the rest of the year. And we wish Unseen nothing but the best. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon on The Upside.
Thank you guys for having me, and many blessings to you. Cheers. Thank you guys.
The voice there, ladies and gentlemen, of Danica Jones playing TK on season 2 of Unseen. Go check it out on Netflix. Figileng Lingwati has your latest in sport.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
And we start off with cricket news. Proteas women head coach Mandla Mashimbi values the lessons of defeat while looking at the bigger picture as the team prepares for their third match in the one-day international ODI tri-series against table toppers India in Colombo on Wednesday. Set to take place at the R. Premadasa International Cricket Stadium, the match will begin at 6:30 Central African Time. After suffering back-to-back defeats to India and Sri Lanka, Mashimbi offered a candid assessment of his team's performances, acknowledging areas that need improvement, but also praised the efforts of his players, viewing the setbacks as part of crucial learning curve ahead of the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup 2025.
We didn't string it long enough for us to actually dictate where the results go, but there was a lot of positives out of how the girls have been playing. But all in all, when you look at the results, yes, I agree with you. I think it could be better, and I think As a city, I don't think we were beaten. We just didn't play the important moments really well in both games. But that's also part of learning. And I think you learn the best when you lose than when you win.
As the pressure mounts heading into the final 2 round-robin games, where only back-to-back victories will keep South Africa's hopes of reaching the Tri-Series final alive, Mashimbi expressed confidence that the experience under pressure now would prove invaluable when it counts most.
I'd rather it happen now than in the World Cup. This is a learning curve for us in these conditions. After this tri-nation, we need to go back to the drawing board and make sure that we fill up all the gaps that we've identified during this series. Leading up to the World Cup, we'll make sure that we leave no stone unturned, and we'll cover all those bases and make sure that when the World Cup comes, we're ready for every eventuality.
On to football news, Nigeria Premiership side Kano Pillars have confirmed that their superstar Ahmed Musa, who has been in fine form this season, will headline Nigeria's squad for the Four Nations Invitational Tournament. Musa will lead Nigeria's Super Eagles at the upcoming Unity Cup in London on his return to the national team fold after being overlooked for recent World Cup qualifiers. The competition is set to run from the 26th to the 31st of May at Brentford's GTEC Community Stadium. Musa's recall comes after national team coach Eric Chelle left him out of Nigeria's March World Cup qualifiers against Rwanda and Zimbabwe. However, the former Leicester City winger now appears back in the manager's plans ahead of the summer tournament. And in rugby news, junior Springbok coach Kevin Foote has made several changes to his starting lineup for their second Rugby Championship Under-20 match against Australia at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium in Gqeberha today. The South African under-20s managed to beat Argentina in the opening round on Thursday, while Australia forced a late draw against New Zealand, scoring the equalizing try after the hooter had sounded. Foote has handed starts to JC Mars, Wandile Mlaba, Batu Hlekani, and Herman Lobe, all of whom played for the junior Boks last year. The South Africa's under-20 coach says it is important to keep the momentum going, manage the load of players whilst also building squad depth by giving the players exposure to top-class international rugby. Now, golf news, rising talent Elvis Smiley has been given a late exemption to the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow after claiming the Australasian Tour Order of Merit in 2024-2025. The Australian 23-year-old and son of former women's tennis professional Liz Smiley follows in the footsteps of the previous 2 Order of Merit winners David Micheluzzi and Kazuma Kobori, who were each given late exemptions to the major. Smiley rebounded with a strong season in his home tour, upsetting compatriot and former British Opener winner Cameron Smith, and claimed his first Australian PGA Championship and earned status on the DP World Tour. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, File Lungwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege.
So the artist that I just played now went by the name A.B. Crystal. So A standing for Alfred, B for Benjamin. What's your take on people having 2 names? Is it because maybe you can't decide on a name?
I've heard people saying that they are named because of whatever that was happening around.
These are also seasonal. I'm sure now a baby born in the Eastern Cape is called Nomatarif.
You see now? Or it was a born baby when it was, what do you call these things we used to pay for men driving?
Noma Itol.
Listen.
Well, Noma Confident is leaving.
Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege. Whatever you want to hear about today's talk, you can get it on the Upside.
Check it out. It is now 36 minutes past 3 p.m. Central African time as we're having a good time in studio. We hope you're having a fantastic time as well. Happy Tuesday, by the way, and thank you so much for tuning into The Upside on Channel Africa. Let's get your latest in business news with Thabiso Lehuku.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thanks, Tebogo, and good afternoon. South Africa's former Director General of Trade, Industry and Competition, Lionel October, says illicit trade should be addressed as a national priority. October says illegal imports and illicit trading are key drivers of deindustrialization, which ultimately undermine economic growth. The South African economy has lost nearly $1.7 million due to illicit trade in tobacco and alcohol alone. Speaking at the official launch of the second Transnational Alliance to Combat Illicit Trade report, October says formalizing the township economy is also key.
People thought informal sector is good and so on. And when we tried to regulate the spaza shops 10, 15 years ago, there was an outcry to say, how can you deregulate small business? You're going to kill small business. And then you had the food safety standards, and you now had re-regulation of the spaza shops. Because
Energy expert Mohamed Mahdi has urged the South African government to explore alternatives to power generation. This after Electricity and Energy Minister Hossein Soramokgopa last week announced that government will be investing $3.3 billion into nuclear power generation in an effort to address the country's energy challenges. Mahdi argues that alternatives such as wind and solar power generation, as well as battery storage, are the most efficient ways of addressing South Africa's capacity shortage.
If we had a much larger nuclear program 15 years ago, the country would have reaped enormous benefits. But today, there are cheaper alternatives to power. Solar, wind, and battery energy storage, for example, can provide the kind of power that this country needs.
Counsel for the Democratic Alliance Party in South Africa, Advocate Ishmael Jamie, has argued that the targets set out in the Employment Equity Amendment Act are vague. The DA, which is the applicant in the matter, has argued that government's Employment Equity Act is unfair and unconstitutional. Under the Employment Equity Act, private companies will be forced to comply with employment laws when hiring South Africans or risk a penalty. Jamie says while the quotas set out by government must be achieved within a 5-year period by private companies, government does not set out how.
It's not explained how and how incremental that has to be. It's not explained what target you have to reach in year 1, year 2, etc. That would be a separate ground. It is a separate basis for attack because it is vague, lady. But that is not an attack we've taken.
Traders say the Kenyan shilling has held steady, supported by remittances and muted foreign currency demand. The shilling was trading at 129.00, 129.50 to the US currency, the same level as at the close of Monday's session. Meanwhile, Kenya's National Bureau of Statistics says that the country's economy grew 5.1% year-on-year in the fourth quarter of 2024 compared to 6.1% in the same quarter of the previous year. U.S. stock index futures fell after President Donald Trump's plans for potential farmer tariffs renewed fears about the impact of the global trade war. It further dampened investor sentiment amid subdued corporate earnings. Trump says that he would announce farmer tariffs over the next 2 weeks. His latest action on levies that have roiled global financial markets over the past months. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 604. Botswana 13 pula 48. Kenya 128 shilling 485. In Zambia 27 kwacha 66. The BRICS countries in Brazil, the dollar will cost you 5 real 67. In Russia 81 rubles 14. India 84 rupees 25. China 7 yuan 20. And in South Africa, the dollar will cost you 18 rand 31. $1 is trading at 75 pence to the British pound and 88 to the euro. Gold is trading at $3,379 and platinum at $976 per ounce. Brent crude oil is at $61.39 a barrel. For any business stories that you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business in Johannesburg, I'm Tabisolo Hoku.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Connecting Africa to the world. The Upside with Nompumelelo Ngubeni and Tebogo Lekhuleni. Bringing you Africa's brightest ideas and untold stories. Every milestone and every triumph, not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sport. Happy birthday to us.
Happy birthday to you.
Listen on SABC Plus, DSTV Audio Bouquet 802, and Satellite Channel PAS 10. Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine.
I want the Africa that makes every single African proud of the continent and have hope. And there's so much stuff that's going on that's positive. And if we can just lock into that, Nomaganjani, everyone is going to get there.
Where are we going? Where are we trying to get to?
The idea of working together, which is why I'm excited about this new voice.
And the new voice is me, Asanda Peta, broadcast journalist with about 15 years of experience on the radio space.
Welcome, Asanda. I've been waiting for you for a long time.
Were you waiting for me?
I was.
Really?
Yeah, because for 3 months I was on my own.
So be sure to tune in right here on Channel Africa Mondays to Fridays from 6 till 9 a.m. Central African Time.
If you want to know about your continent, this is the best place to start your day.
Rise and Shine on Channel Africa. Connecting Africa to the world. The Upside with Nompumelelo Ngubeni and Tebogo Lekhuleni. Bringing you Africa's brightest ideas and untold stories.
Oi, it's 10 minutes to 4 Central African Time. Just before that break, we heard from J-Rocks with Love is Blind, and then went all the way to my very favorite country in the world, Ethiopia. And that one was Yelebe by Hallelujah Tekle Tzadik.
Wow.
Why are you doing it? Ethiopia.
Well, Ethiopia.
I love Ethiopia.
We've got hiking trails that I would love to check out one day. Right, so Ethiopia, Kenya, on my bucket list.
Nice.
Tanzania,
nice.
On my bucket list to go and hike those areas.
Okay.
Would you like to move to South Korea?
No. Okay. I'd like to visit South Korea, not move.
Because at some point in South Korea, they were paying people. I don't know if it's still happening. paying people about $8,000 to get married.
No.
All right. South Korea took bold steps to address its record low birth rate, which dropped to about 0.72 children per woman, the lowest in the world. In the Busan Saha district, a program was introduced offering residents up to $38,000 in financial incentives to date, marry, and start families. No to you.
It's still a no.
Okay.
Let me tell you why. I don't even have to think about it. The only reason I wouldn't move to South Korea is because there's too much of a cultural difference,
Yeah,
right? And
absolutely.
I am exposed slightly, a little bit to a certain extent, to Asian culture. And I say Asian, but I know it's different cultures. right?
Yes.
And I don't think it's something I want to know any more about than what I do. I love their skincare, and that's about as much as I. That's it. I don't need to know more. I don't want to delve deeper. I don't know. No, none of that.
Well, listen, check
Number
it out.
two,
if
I'd
you
have
want
to
to,
then
if you're
get
interested.
married to the very culture, into the very culture
of
that
course.
no,
Yeah, of
thanks, please miss me. And I mean, I just checked it out. It's 600. Is this a once-off payment, by the way?
I think it is a once-off payment to kick you
Definitely
to get
not
you
worth
started,
it.
right?
Some
Kickstart.
690,000 rand. No. Not for my liberty.
For some people, like, oh wow, that's a lot of money. I can, do something with it.
And then I have to learn to love it. Oh, I can't imagine anything worse, actually.
Learning to
Love this person that I'm married to, and then I'm going to have to have a child with them. And no, thanks.
It's the fact that there are countries that are offering such things.
It's crazy. But
How
obviously
crazy is that?
they offering them to citizens, to South Koreans, and not to non-nationals.
Yeah.
All right.
Because
I mean,
otherwise it wouldn't, everyone would just flock there.
I probably wouldn't take it up, in fact, if the offer was up to marry a South African man. No, I wouldn't.
What's wrong with South African men? According to you, there must be a reason why you just said something might be wrong with South African men. I wouldn't do.
Where do I start?
Just one.
GBV.
Okay. Yeah. All right. There we go. I think we can. Yeah, that's the one right there. Also, sticking to Asian content, Squid Games. If you're a fan.
Yeah.
The trailer is out.
I'm not a fan, no. I don't like the idea of people's heads being popped off and blood squirting everywhere. Are you a fan? You sound like you're a fan.
Am I a fan? I enjoyed the first season.
You could watch past one episode.
I could watch past all the the gruesomeness of it all. I watched the first season. I was like, okay, cool. It's not bad. Amazing. In my opinion, there was no need for season 2 and what they're trying to do now. In my opinion.
So you're not going to be watching the latest season?
My thing is, I did watch the latest season. I watched so they've split it. So they have part 1 and then they have a part 2.
Yeah.
Right. Part 1, it left me feeling there was no need for this season. I know that they're trying to add more complexities and a bit of mystery, but there was no need for it. Season 1 was enough. I feel like some series, some shows, just because it went viral and it was fantastic, can end right there at season 1. It doesn't have to continue just because of its fame.
Yeah,
it really does. And Squid Games for me is one of them. You could differ. You could differ, obviously.
Yeah. Just let a thing have its season and its moment, and it's okay for it to end.
Winners know when to quit or to stop.
Or to leave the party.
And the remaking of so many, now we're seeing it on movies as well, on a superhero scale, where they have 1, 2, 3, Spider-Man, 1, 2, 3. I'm like, no, there's no need. There's no need. You're just milking it now. And people will actually still buy. That's the problem. People will still buy.
And for once in my life, I'm going to say, I also think we need to know when to leave the dance floor.
We're not leaving the dance floor. We like things.
And make way for Nompumelelo Ngubeni. She's coming up with Africa in Business. And now time is up, Tebogo. We really need to stop trying to hold on so much. Tammy is going to be giving you the very latest and wrapping up some of the biggest stories, business stories coming out of the continent. Plans for dinner? or
No,
tonight? Later?
Apparently, we need to order some burgers, which we haven't done in we were supposed to 10
We're
minutes
probably
ago.
going to have to go there and order from there. So,
Wow.
all
So
right.
that's the plan for dinner.
That's the plan for dinner. Okay.
Right. We wish you nothing but the best. Have a
Yeah.
fantastic, glorious rest of your Tuesday afternoon. Thank you so much for tuning into The Upside on Channel Africa. And before we disappear and head out, Nompumelelo Ngubeni is in the building, right? And she's going to tell you what's coming up on Africa in Business. I should have been a part of that sting. African Business. I think it just sounds a bit more colorful and vibrant. No, I'm joking.
I don't know what
The
the
current-
lady,
no, the
lady
current
of
one
the
is
show
fine.
thinks about that. Yeah, I also think the current one is okay.
Hello, beautiful people.
Tammy,
Hello, beautiful
how are you
person.
doing?
Anisebahle.
Oh, enkosi.
Nibahle.
Have you seen her outfit? I told her earlier, I was like, my goodness, but this can pay off an entire car and mortgage, all of them.
Speaking
Well,
about
she-
paying things off.
I must
You don't have to respond to that, Tammy.
No. I genuinely want to. I genuinely want to. I'm also going to say she has a really impressive collection of shoes as well, and
Sure.
and some of which she has inherited, and her
Top
mom
tier.
has, I believe, very
Yeah.
impeccable taste.
No, she
so
really does.
Top
it just
tier.
kind of like runs in the family.
Love it.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
So let's get into business,
Yes,
all right? Let's go straight into
please,
business.
please.
Really excited today. We're going to be meeting Dr. Sidi Uta, and he is currently the president of the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa. So why are we chatting to him? Why do we want to find out who he is and what
Yeah.
he's really all about? Because he is vying for the presidency of the African Development Bank. Oh, yes.
Okay.
So we're going to be
always a hotly contested one. That
very much so. So
and
we'll be
some women candidates from South Africa
as well. So we'll be talking to this one. He's from Mauritius.
Lovely.
Yeah, sorry, not Mauritius, but Mauritania. Yeah, he's from Mauritania. So we'll be speaking to him today, find out who he is and what he would like to do with that portfolio should he become
Very
the next one. So very excited about that. And then also the Oakland Institute has put out a report titled Climate Wash, the World Bank's Fresh Offensive on Land Rights. We want to find out what it is that they're accusing the World Bank of. They're basically saying the World Bank is using the entire climate crisis to push land reforms around the globe, but these are for the benefits of corporates and not of the individuals or of the climate. So what are these policies that they're talking about? What is it that they've discovered in this particular report? So we'll be joined by the policy director at Oakland Institute this afternoon.
Very intriguing
And
stuff.
that's just part
that's just
of
a
what.
little bit.
A little
Look.
snippet.
That is just a snippet
Tammy,
of what we've got in
look,
store for you.
I wish you could see. In fact, you can see the look on Tammy's face as she talks us through the show, because she's just like, you want to stay tuned to African business.
FOMO.
And you really do. Stay tuned to Channel Africa, because we have some intriguing, riveting conversations throughout the day here.
And I must tell you, and the news desk also has some riveting news that they'd like to share with us right now. So thank you very much to the two of you.
Tulongwepe is probably like, listen, I need to get out of here.
Exactly. So we hand over now to Jwalani Tulo Ngwepe, and after that, a highlight of what is on the sporting agenda with Figile Lingwati. It's exactly 4 p.m.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Top stories: South Africa's Concord has scrapped a section of the South African Citizenship Act of 1995, and the UN Commission on Human Rights in South Sudan responds to medical facility bombings. Good afternoon. South Africa's Constitutional Court has scrapped Section 6(1) of the South African Citizenship Act of 1995. Section 6(1) stipulates that South Africans lose their citizenship if they voluntarily acquire another nationality unless they apply for and obtain retention from the Minister of Home Affairs beforehand. In his ruling, Justice Stephen Majid said the act should be scrapped from the date of its promulgation on October 6, 1995. The Supreme Court of Appeal, or SCA, previously ruled that this section was unconstitutional, but the Concord had to ratify the judgment. A bombing attack on a Doctors Without Borders hospital and pharmacy in South Sudan over the weekend was deliberate and may amount to a war crime, according to the UN Commission on Human Rights in South Sudan. At least 7 people were killed and 20 wounded in South Sudan's Fangak County when a bomb was dropped on the pharmacy, burning it to the ground and damaging the hospital. This was followed by another drone attack on Old Fangak town. No one claimed responsibility for the attacks. The chairperson of the UN Commission on Human Rights, Yasim Suka, said in a statement this was a calculated, unlawful attack on a protected medical facility. She added that the aerial bombing of the hospital in Old Fangak is a flagrant violation of international humanitarian law and could amount to a war crime. The Border Management Authority of South Africa says drones that have been deployed to boost border security at various ports of entry across the country are playing a major role in helping to clamp down on human trafficking syndicates. More than 100 human trafficking facilitators were arrested using the drone footage over the last 2 weeks. Commissioner of the Border Management Authority, Michael Masiapato, says the drones allowed response teams to operate more efficiently along key vulnerable segments of the country's land borderline. He was speaking during the Africa Border Security Week gathering currently underway in Cape Town.
The drones were able to enable us to arrest around 112 facilitators. And these are the individuals that had been causing a lot of illegal migration into the country from our neighboring countries, particularly from Zimbabwe, from Lesotho, as well as Mozambique. So on that basis, all of those facilitators, as we arrested, we basically brought them into the country. We opened a case against them for aiding and abetting in the respective police stations. And as we speak, they're facing the might of the law according to Section 49(2) of the Immigration Act.
South Africa's former Chief Justice Raymond Zondo has hailed the judiciary as the arm of state that is most effective in the fight against corruption. He was delivering the keynote address on the second day of the 15th Commonwealth Regional Conference for Heads of Anti-Corruption Agencies in Africa. The 4-day event is taking place in Cape Town. Zondo chaired the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture from 2018 to 2020. He says the judiciary has played a meaningful role in combating corruption.
You will know that the judiciary is the only arm of state where its members can be kicked out when they've done wrong. It's difficult to find such examples in the executive. It's difficult to find such examples in parliament. Very often, people who are facing serious allegations, both in the executive and in parliament, are just shifted around or just given a slap in the wrist.
China has angrily condemned job adverts released by the CIA aimed at recruiting disillusioned Chinese officials. Last week, the CIA released a series of videos targeting Chinese government employees. The Foreign Ministry said there was evidence of despicable methods used by the U.S. intelligence agency to steal secrets from other countries. Lin Jian is the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson.
The United States not only maliciously smears and attacks China, but also blatantly deceives and lures Chinese personnel to turn side, and even directly targets Chinese government officials. This is a serious violation of China's national interests and a naked political provocation.
Recapping the top story this hour, South Africa's Constitutional Court has scrapped Section 6, subsection 1 of the South African Citizenship Act of 1995. Section 6, subsection 1 stipulates that South Africans lose their citizenship if they voluntarily acquire another nationality unless they apply for and obtain retention from the Minister of Home Affairs beforehand. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Jolani Tulongwepe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
In our sports headlines, at the bottom of the hour, East African athletes are cashing in on international races and participate in business ventures in their countries. Our correspondent, Sempoza, will break it down for us at the bottom of the hour.
It is a very good afternoon to you, Senegal. Good afternoon to you, Ghana, Kenya, Somalia. Good afternoon to you, Eritrea, Swaziland, Lesotho. Good afternoon to you, South Africa. Good afternoon, Africa. Welcome to Africa in Business on Channel Africa. I'm Tami Ngubeni. This is where you get the African perspective. It's where we meet to look at the latest in business, news and sport. It's gone exactly 7 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African time. Just a reminder for you to continue engaging with us on all the various social media platforms. On X, Instagram and YouTube, you'll find us at Channel Africa 1. And on Facebook, we are at Channel Africa. We are also live streaming on YouTube. So if you want to use more of your sentence,